Hi there, my name's Ollie Bray and I'm a head teacher from Scotland. As well as being a head teacher, I've also got a real interest in games-based learning or playful learning in the classroom, and I've been interested in this for a number of years ago now. Fundamentally, I think games design is all about trying to create a generation of creators of digital content. We already know that we've got a generation of consumers of digital content across Europe, but it's increasingly well known that actually we need more and more young people to actually be able to create digital assets as well as just to consume content from the internet or digitally. If we're going to do this, it's really important that we think about some type of progression when we look at games design. I get frustrated sometimes when people say that designing computer games is the domain for the secondary school or the high school. The truth of it is, young people can start designing computer games from a very young age, and there are a number of tools and software packages that can help us do this. In any games design course that you're putting together for your school, your local education authority, or your state, always consider what the progression is. When do you want to start introducing the building blocks of good games design, and how can you help young people develop these skills as they progress through their school years and indeed progress through their curriculum? One of the other great things about games is it provides a real hook to get young people interested in coding. Again, across Europe, there's a big focus at the moment about trying to get more young people to be able to code digitally. The problem with this, of course, is that actually lots of young people don't like coding. It's a really hard thing to do and can include quite a lot of complicated maths. However, if we take the context of a video game, then this could actually be used as a really useful thing to get young people interested in coding in the first place. But again, it's important that we start from a very early age. One of the other things that games design allows us to do is it allows us to introduce cross-curricular projects. Because if we think about a good computer game, it's not just about the code in the game itself. Good computer games also have lots of characters in them. Have a look at these 4 silhouettes here, for example. Now, even though you might not have ever played a computer game, or created a computer game for that matter, I bet that you can name some, perhaps all of the characters that are available here in these silhouettes. The reason for that, of course, is because games characters are incredibly culturally relevant and they are now really inbuilt into our society. So when we talk about games design, let's not just think about the coding, but let's also try and get young people to think about how story or even characters have developed over time. Here's a great example of character development. Take a look at old Super Mario back in 1985, and let's look at how he's evolved over time as different gaming consoles have evolved over time, all the way up to the most modern games that are available for the Wii U and other handheld consoles. So when we think about computer games, let's think about also dividing young people into teams to develop things like character, story, scenery, or even play around with some of the more sophisticated physics engines that are available in games so that we can adjust the variables. Another good place to start is maybe some tools that aren't actually designed for creating computer games. Microsoft PowerPoint or Apple's Keynote springs to mind. Because with these tools, you can actually get young people to develop quite specific narrative-driven games or mystery games. Here's an example here, where we're trying to get inside a house as part of a mystery game which has been designed by very young children. You can see that what's happened is that the action buttons have been put in here to actually change the direction and the flow of the story. Let's see what happens if we try to open the gate rather than to climb the fence. Oh no, we've tried to open the gate, but that set off the alarm. It means the game's over, but I can quickly click back and start again. Hopefully you see the point. It's not just about complicated computer coding, it's also about telling stories and also making sure that we include some very simple variables in any games that we develop. PowerPoint and Apple's Keynote allows us to do this simply and easily. And over time, young people can actually build up incredibly complicated stories, or we can start to combine presentations, or games in this case, to actually get young people working together. There's lots of other more specific games design tools though. One of my favourites is a game called Too Simple DIY. Too Simple DIY is a commercially available game from the Too Simple software company. We've used it a lot in Scottish schools and the children and young people really seem to like it. You can develop a whole range of games using Too Simple DIY. I think some of the best games that I've seen using TuSimple DIY across Europe have come from Porchester Junior High School. Another really good and simple games design tool is something called Scratch Junior. Lots of people have already heard of Scratch, but I'm always surprised as to how many few people have heard about Scratch Junior. Scratch Junior is available for the iPad, but it will also be available for Android platform towards the end of 2014. If you're familiar with Scratch, then you'll also be familiar with some of the features of Scratch Junior. The difference, of course, is it's got a lot more of a childlike or young childlike interface, and of course it's optimised for touch because it's designed to be used on a tablet computer.